Hi, my name is Tammy, and I talk about the issue of hoarding and adult kids of parents that hoard, hashtag AKOPTH, and also youth living in the hoard, which is hashtag YLITH. And today I am going to share a little bit about the issue of hoarding from the perspective of being the adult kid of parents that hoard. And I believe there's a common misconception that we don't care about our parents, or if we did care, we wouldn't let them live that way. And the main issue that I see with that line of thinking is that often our parents choose to live that way. They chose to hoard prior to us ever arriving on this earth in some cases. And also, hoarding is a coping mechanism, and it's frequently covering up unaddressed mental health issues, and sometimes health issues as well. But we, the kids, aren't responsible for the parents. And I don't mean we don't care. We do care. We love them. We're concerned. We're worried. We have often tried to intervene in numerous ways on various occasions and have been met with complete, total resistance. And the thing with hoarding is that you aren't as important as the stuff. The stuff has the priority over everything, the relationship, the condition of the home, whether the neighbors are mad, whether you get to have Christmas or not, whether you get to decorate or not. All those things are not a priority. The stuff and protecting it and keeping things the way it is for the safety of the person that hoards. There is not really a way to effectively intervene unless you can come at it from a point of safety. And even within safety, like if you need a 36-inch path to be able to get in and out of the building, even if you come at it from a safety perspective, the person that hoards doesn't generally see that there's a problem. So even in that, they don't necessarily recognize the safety factors that are in play. So if you are a person that is attempting to intervene in a hoarding situation and you are trying to pull family members in to help resolve the issue, just be aware and understand that there's a good possibility they've already tried, that they're tired, exhausted, sad, angry, depleted, and they've probably tried just about everything you're going to suggest. And I'm not saying you shouldn't approach, I'm just saying you should look at how you're approaching and figure out at what level has this adult kid already tried to intervene and at was there success with that intervention. There are times when family members, kids, adults, neighbors, friends, whatever, who've just they've tried everything and they kind of walk away from the situation because nothing has worked. And I know that part of the reason things don't work is that we aren't addressing the actual issues around why a person hoards. And usually there is trauma, there could be anxiety, depression, unaddressed mental health issues that are causing this hoarding behavior. And the reason that the interventions haven't been successful often are because we haven't addressed those underlying issues. If you are in a situation where you are doing a forced clean out and that person who hoards does not get any support or mental health treatment while that clean out is happening, it's very likely that they will hoard again and do it at a much faster pace to refill that space because comfort blanket has been torn away. So if you are looking at how to help, you need to look at what is going on with the person that hoards, what are their issues that aren't being addressed, how can they be addressed, and know that if you're approaching those kids, come at that with a perspective of they may have already tried and they may have been met with complete resistance, anger. The person that hoards may have disowned that kid because that kid tried to help that person at some point, and the person that hoards was not receptive at all to that type of help. So if you are a person who is the adult kid of parents that hoard, and someone comes to you to talk to you about what level you can participate in, I think it's very valuable to be able to articulate what you've already tried to do, when results were. And you also need to be really clear about what your level of participation is or can be, or can you participate at all because of your own recovery needs. And I think that's something that we forget, that we are valuable and separate from the hoard, and that ultimately we aren't responsible to fix this situation. There is the desire to help, I know frequently, but that doesn't mean that we can resolve it. Because honestly, if we could resolve it, we probably already would have. But because we were met with so much resistance and anger, and possibly we were disowned by the person that hoards because we tried, there's just this level of burden that can be insurmountable sometimes. And I think it's valuable to know what your limits are and be able to clearly state, I live out of state, I work XYZ, I have my own children, I have pets, it's expensive for me to come there, I have to stay in a hotel. There are just actually factors that come into play in a hoarding situation that I think people don't necessarily appreciate or understand. So I think it's valuable to figure out what your limits and boundaries are and how much you can participate. No matter how much you would like to do that, you may have to really take a step back and figure out how much is realistic for you to be involved. Obviously, there's emergency times when you may have to become involved, and those are hard times too, because even if you do the right thing, you still may end up being hated by the person that hoards because they didn't think there was a problem and they didn't need help. So why are you there addressing the non-existent problem, offering help they think they don't need? So it is a very challenging, tough, difficult scenario typically if your parent hoards. And it isn't simple, it isn't easy. And I think it's really valuable to know where we are at in our personal journey and where we are at with that person, because that can make a big difference in how much we can participate or how supportive we can be. So those are my thoughts around what it's like to being an adult kid of parents that hoard. And something I've recently talked about is that idea that when you go home, you aren't going to stay in your room. You probably can't even stay in the house, or maybe possibly can't even get in the house. You may not, even if you are welcome, there could be pests and rodents and dust and stuff and avalanche risks, fire hazards. There's all these other mitigating factors that would keep you from wanting to stay there anyway. So there are just so many factors that come into this situation, and I am here to talk about those things because there is time to talk about, well, what I feel like is the time to talk about some of these things. We've been talking for years, and I don't see resolutions or movement in changing how we address this. And that's part of what we need to do. We need to be talking about this. We need to be talking about how to do this in a less traumatic way for the family members as well as the person that hoards. And we need to recognize that there is a lot of trauma and pain in these situations, and we have to work together to address that. But I also think there's way too much pressure put on the adult kid to fix it. And that's ridiculous because we didn't create it and we can't fix it. That's the whole crux of the matter, is there's a good chance that we can't fix it. So anyway, I appreciate you tuning in, and I look forward to your feedback, and let me know what questions you've got. Thank you so much.